You put up 0 points until late in the third. You're not going to perform well offensively. You're not going to do a very good job. I mean, it's simple as that. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Reporting from the Kingdom, your number one place for all Chiefs info and news. I'm your host, Bob. Super Bowl is in the books. Obviously wasn't the result we were hoping for. Not a good game. But free agency is on the horizon. Can't dwell on the past. You got to look to the future, try to get better. There's quite a lot to talk about with free agency. Obviously, we need to try to address the left tackle needs, some important players to sign, and potential retirement. So let's get right into it. Starting off, of course, I think the biggest thing to talk about is the Super Bowl loss. Final score was 40-22. Not a close game at all, which got destroyed by Philadelphia. They just played a really good game defensively. I've got to give props to them for that. They did a great job with that. And it's tough losing a Super Bowl, but I mean, it's good to at least make a Super Bowl. I mean, only two teams even made it that far, so just making it that far is impressive in its own. But of course, you want to see the result be a little bit different because it's always sad to lose in the Super Bowl. In a way, it's almost easier if you're a team like, let's say, the Titans, and you're not going to make the Super Bowl. You've known for a while you're not going to make the Super Bowl. So you're not disappointed and bummed out when you miss the playoffs near as much as, a team like Buffalo when they miss the Super Bowl, or a team like Kansas City when we lose in the Super Bowl. It was a rough game, especially offensively was where I say it was roughest. Just couldn't get anything going until late in the third quarter, if I remember correctly. I'm going to be perfectly honest, bad analyst here. I've not gone back to that game much at all. That's not one I've wanted to return to, other than the halftime show. I liked the halftime show. That I've returned to the halftime show more than I'd like to admit actually. But other than that, I really haven't paid much attention to the game. I've tried to just, ignore it. But the thing about the game, I feel like the most annoying thing about it for me is just we were so close. We did not so close. I mean, we were so close to a lot of things, the three-peat, etc. But we did what I feel like we needed to do on defense to win the game. We shut down Saquon. I think he was held under 4 yards a carry. He barely had any big runs. I don't think he had a touchdown. I know we allowed 40 points, but a lot of those were, short drives. Defense was on the field a ton in that first half. So I don't really put the blame on the defense. I think that game falls a lot more on the offense and the coaching staff. I think we just plainly got outcoached and outplayed as well, to be fair. But I feel like defense played a good enough game to win with a good offensive performance. But we didn't have a good offensive performance was the issue. So it wasn't enough to win. That's duh. You put up 0 points until late in the third. You're not going to perform well offensively. You're not going to do a very good job. I mean, it's simple as that. Of course, the biggest issue with that game, I feel like, was O-line. Mahomes had no time. I think they had something around like a 42% pressure rate, and they never blitzed once. And, O-line pressure has been an issue all year, the big thing with the O-line. So I'm assuming that's going to be the big thing this offseason, is trying to address the offensive line and the O-line issues. And another big thing is just, I feel good about the receiving core, Talking about what we need to do to make it back to the Super Bowl. I think the receiving core, you need to re-sign someone. You need to bring one guy on to be your number 3 to complement Rice and Worthy. And you also have to prepare for Worthy to more than likely get suspended for, I'm putting it down for 6 games. It could be more, it could be less. But my assumption, what I'm going to say, if I'm Kansas City, if I'm Brett Veach, I'm Andy Reid, I'm saying we're not going to have Rashee Rice for a minimum of 6 games. And that's something you need to game plan for. You have to work on that in the offseason and find someone who's good enough and can come in quick enough to play for those first 6 or however many games Rice is out for. I'm just putting 6 as kind of a a good statement based on how a lot of guys get suspended. I'd be surprised to see it be much more. And to be honest, I'd also be surprised to see it less. But it depends on the legal situation, really. It depends on how good his lawyers are. And I know he has good lawyers from what I've seen. But hopefully that'll get resolved and we can just start working on playing good football is, of course, the hope. But I think I'm not as worried about receiver. My personal plan at receiver, my personal idea for me, what I want to do is bring back Hollywood. Hollywood show. That's not how you say showed. That's not the past tense of show at all. Shown. Okay, bro. What am I saying? No, I think Hollywood showed enough flashes when he came back late in the season to prove that he's someone you can want to be your starter. Be that number 2, be that number 3, be that even number 1, depending on how you're feeling with Worthy. For those first 6 games, and then once Rice comes back, he still works in the rotation. He frees up Worthy to play more of his role, so Worthy doesn't have to play a role that he's not fit for, which early on in the season when Hollywood was out and Rice was out, that's what something Worthy was doing, which I think hindered him early on. Because if you'll notice, I mean, Worthy was great this season. I have no complaints about Worthy's rookie season. He had a great year. I wish we would have thrown it to him deep a little bit more, but that's on play calling, not on Worthy. But if you'll notice, he really started exploding once Hollywood came back versus the Texans. Because what that does is, one, it gives the defense someone else to try to guard, someone else to try to contain. But not only does it do that, it also put Worthy back in his spot that he's more comfortable playing, and that all offseason he was working on playing until he had to play a different role with the injuries to Hollywood and the injuries to Rice that no one saw coming. I mean, of course, Hollywood got hurt first snap of the preseason on offense, and Rice got hurt, week 3 after having an incredible start to the season. I was really hyped to see how Rice was gonna play out. And it just didn't come to fruition, just kind of ruined that season. I was really excited to see how those 3 were going to play. Of course, I'm glad we got Hollywood back for the playoff run. But I think that's a trio that I want to see next season. That's a trio that I want back next year. Hopkins, I like him. But the Chiefs don't really, I don't know why, but the Chiefs just do not seem to want to play him very much. And he's old and he's injury prone. And I mean, who knows? He might be done after this year. He's not someone I'd hate to see back, but he's someone that I wouldn't be surprised to not see back, is the thing. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't come back. But receiver's not the big issue. The big thing Kansas City needs to address, of course, is the left tackle spot, and they need to work on Trey Smith. Because Trey Smith is, of course, great guard. He's an incredible player. And contract year, it's contract time for him. He is going to get a bag this year. He's going to get a huge payday this season. Or this offseason is what I should say. And we need to make sure we can pay him that much. That's not how I want to word that at all. What I prefer to say, I don't know if we can afford to pay him that much. With the issues we have at left tackle, Trey Smith, guards are great. Trey Smith is a great dude. I love him. I love how he plays. I just love everything about him. He's a great dude, Just repeated myself. That's great. But the issue with Trey Smith is nothing to do with him. It's an issue to do with the left tackle side. Because left tackles cost a lot of money, and we don't have one right now. And we already have 2 interior linemen that are getting a ton of money right now. $20 million average. And I don't think you can pay $60 million an average a year on that interior line without addressing the tackle situation already. I think that just puts you in a bigger hole. It just gives you more problems. And it just makes life in general harder for you to operate. And I think there's going to be some good left tackles that might be hitting free agency. One guy I've heard of, the Rams tackle, Larrick Jackson. I heard they're not planning on franchising him. Ronnie Stanley, I think, might hit free agency. I'm not sure if he's someone you want to try to roll the tires on. I mean, another Ravens tackle, great. Woohoo! I'm so excited for that. I don't know we all know how Orlando Brown worked out. But I still think someone. I think I don't want to rely on another rookie to come in and have to be like Suamatea or Wanya Morris the second half of that season. So I don't want someone that's going to have to come in. We're not sure about how good he's going to be, and we're going to have to see how good he is. And he's going to be thrown into the water, no preparation. I want a good solution that gives Mahomes time to unleash the deep ball. Because I think even in the Super Bowl, something we wanted to do was attack deep more, and we just couldn't. We just couldn't attack deep because Mahomes had no time. Because we moved Tooney out of position, and Tooney started getting bullied at tackle. No offense, I love Tooney. I mean, great player. Once again, like Trey Smith, great player, great dude. But he didn't play his best game because he's not a tackle. He's a guard. And we needed him at tackle, and that's where he played. But in the Super Bowl, he just wasn't good enough. And you pair that with a poor performance from Caliendo, who was filling in for him, and you just get, all in all, a really poor O-line play from those two. I think the other side of the line played solid, but that's where the main issue resides, was that left side of the line, from moving Tooney to tackle and then having to put Caliendo at guard, who's really probably not a startable player. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs address that. My personal take on it is sign a tackle that can come in and can play quality football. I would, the Trey Smith situation with him, as much as I love him, I would say let him walk and spend that $20 million that you're going to put on Trey Smith on a tackle instead. Because I think with the security of our interior O-line that we already have with Tooney and Creed, I feel like adding to the left tackle slot and trying to fix that side is going to be so much more beneficial than Trey Smith at guard. Because another thing is guards are less premium players. Guards are easier to get in the draft. They're easier to sign in free agency. I mean, they're getting bigger contracts now, but I mean, everyone is with how much the cap's going up. But, guards aren't as premium as a tackle. So I would much rather spend that money to get a quality tackle than repay an incredible guard. I mean, I'd rather get maybe a little bit worse tackle than Trey Smith at guard, just because tackle's a lot more important and it's a lot bigger of a need right now. And I mean, I think in the draft that leads you to look at a guard, or if you like one of the guys they drafted late last year, you could potentially consider playing him at guard. It's an interesting situation, and I'm honestly very curious to see how Brett Veach approaches it. Because I think there's a lot of interesting. I don't think it's just a resounding no. There's no way to bring Trey Smith back. But I don't think bringing Trey Smith back is the right decision. I mean, it depends on how much money he's going to get. Of course, I mean, he's coming back for $15 million. Hell yeah, I'm on board. But if he wants, a $25 million contract, then I don't think that's something I can do. If I'm Brett Veach, I'm sitting in that chair. And of course, I'm not. This is just my opinion, but I just don't think that's something you can afford to do with the other issues you have on your roster. And some other guys you are going to have to re-sign next year, like George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie, a Leo Chanel type, looking into the future even, which as a GM, that's a life as a GM. You can't put all your eggs into having one great year. You need to work on having a multitude of years, which is how we've seen such great dynasties like the Patriots dynasty, the Steelers dynasty. Of course, they didn't have free agency back, Steelers and Cowboys, so it was a lot easier to keep your players. But that's the stuff we've seen with great dynasties, is they keep refueling and getting quality talent and not putting it all into one season. And even our dynasty so far, that's been it. We haven't overgiven for 1 year, which, a part of me wishes we would have, because, hey, we would have got a Super Bowl. But, 3 years down the line, who knows how we'll look. And, that's still always going to be a question, but that's why the draft is so important as well. You have to be able to constantly refuel with quality players. Quality player, and they don't all have to be great players. You also need some role players, a Joshua Williams, late round role players that can come in and be solid. Because, when you're paying, in this league, when you're paying quarterbacks $60 million a year, that's a hell of a lot of money that you just lose. You're paying a quarterback a ton of money, you're paying a D lineman a ton of money. Some teams are paying a receiver a ton of money, or a tackle a ton of money. Some teams, have all four. That means you can't afford to have 22 elite players. It's not like Madden where you can go turn off the salary cap, make trades very easy, and then just trade for all 99 overalls and have a perfect, incredible roster. Or my favorite strategy was always making them a punter so they're low overall and easy to trade for. That's what I always like to do to get an insane team. But you can't do that. You have a salary cap you have to work with. And that's going to involve making some tough decisions that you might not want to do, like getting rid of a Trey Smith or a Nick Bolton. You love them as the players. You want to have them on your team. In an ideal world, you would, but you just can't because you have to focus on the bigger needs. And right now, I think that bigger need is, of course, tackle. So that's kind of where I stand on that. And the next big topic I wanted to talk about was Travis Kelce and the potential for him retiring, potential for that season we saw being his last, or potentially this next season. From what I've heard, just scrolling on Twitter or X, if you want to call it that for some reason, I don't know why you would, but if you do, you can. Is that he's gonna play one more year. He's gonna have his final farewell tour, and then he'll be done. Which that's gonna be pretty sad for me because Kelce's someone I've admired, I've looked up to. He seems like he's a great dude. I said looked up to. That's kind of weird, kind of parasocial, but he's a great dude. Of an even better player. That's not how you want to use that quote. He's a great dude from what I've seen, and also a great player. Adjacent. It's equal to, not greater than or less than. Equally as good player and person. But I do think we've seen in recent years he just hasn't been playing to the level. Mainly last year, and even a little bit the year before. He hasn't been playing to the level that we've seen from Kelce before. And I think anyone can tell that, the end is coming pretty soon. He's, as far as tight ends go, he's pretty old. He's, 35, I'm pretty sure. And that's the same age as Gronk. And, of course, Gronk was in the league for a little bit earlier than Kelce was. But, Gronk's been done for 4 years or however long. He's holding an entirely new career now. So it'll be sad to see Kelce go, but it is something I feel like is inevitably going to happen. I think he'll play out this year, especially going off what I've heard. I think he's going to play this season, try to get one more Super Bowl ring, hopefully get one more Super Bowl ring, and then he's going to call it quits, call it a career, and, go to the billionaire girlfriend and the, number one podcast that he's been, carrying. He's got a lot ahead of him. I can't blame him for retiring, He's got a whole lot of life ahead of him. He's got a lot of great things to look forward to. So, it'll be sad to see him go, but I do think there are ways to work with a Travis Kelce retirement. Like, I think, obviously, you've got someone who showed a lot of potential this season in Noah Gray. Had some quality performances in some games. Obviously, the consistency wasn't there, but it took Kelce a couple years, due to injuries, before he really got his footing under him and started producing quality reps. So I think for Kelce, it like I said, I don't want to see him go, but it's something that's inevitably gonna happen. And I do think there's ways to work around it. Obviously, of course, the second-year guy, Jared Wiley is going to be coming off injury. And he didn't really show much this year, but he's a highly touted prospect. He's got tons of athleticism. So I think there's some stuff to work for him to try to find a new tight end. Of course, once Kelce retires, which I'm going to speak it into existence, that Kelce is going to play one more season. He's going to play at least one more season, and it's going to be a good one. He's going to end it with a good one. I'm saying it right now. I'm speaking it into existence. I'm wishing it into existence. Travis Kelce's going to have a dominant season next year for his final season. Now, he's going to play for 10 more years. You know what? I said it. Travis Kelce's going to play until he's 45. Call him Tom Brady, the tight end. Yep, that's definitely going to happen. Don't quote me on that. I'm about to cut this out so I don't get this. I don't get someone posting this and saying this guy makes horrible NFL takes. Not trying to get that happening. But we'll just have to wait and see. Oh, that was not. I need to work on the whole laugh thing, because that wasn't it. That's not it. If I'm being honest, that's just. Ew. Yeah, we'll have to work on it. I mean, it's not like I've been trying to do this for a year and only got 8 episodes out, because I'm just so good and consistent and always have plans and always work really hard at this. But we'll work on it. That's another thing I'm going to speak on real quick. It's just personally myself, a little bit of talking on myself. I'm going to try to be more consistent with this podcast. I know I've said that before and it hasn't been true, but I'm really going to try to work on marketing, really going to try to work on just staying consistent with either weekly. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to go either weekly or bi-weekly episodes. Just depending on how timing works out. I'm feeling this episode's coming about to a close. It's a little bit of a shorter one, but I don't really have just a ton of stuff I want to cover today. And I just thought of something. I just remembered the one thing I do want to cover real quick. So forget about all that. Forget about all that end of the episode stuff. Matt Nagy, I'm coming at you. What I think this show needs more true opinions from me is what this show needs. So I'm going to bring some. And that might not be a take everyone's going to agree with. I mean, it might be as well. It might not be. I'm not just going to spread blatant positivity about Kansas City, because, I mean, you're trying to critique something you love something. If you love something, you're not just going to be nice to it all the time. You're going to critique it so it can be better. And you might not agree with it. It might not be nice, but that's something I feel. And Matt Nagy, I personally believe Matt Nagy needs to go. And I think he's a large part of the issue we have offensively. Of course, tackles another part of that issue. But I think Matt Nagy's another big issue. I think he's too much of a yes man. I think that's something you saw with Bieniemy, was he'd get in a couple arguments with Mahomes. And I think that's good. I think that's good for a team to be able to have disagreements. I think Bieniemy had the team more disciplined than someone like Matt Nagy. And of course, I'm just speculating. I'm not in the building at all times. I don't truly know what's going on with Nagy and Mahomes and what was going on with Bieniemy. It's just pure speculation from seeing how the team has been playing, seeing how, coaches and players act. It's just, Nagy seems to be a lot less prevalent than someone like Bieniemy that we had. I think with that, I'm just about ready to wrap this up. I do want to make an announcement that there's a high likelihood, I forgot to bring this up at the beginning, there's a high likelihood this podcast will be turning solo for a while. It's a mutual splitting, he might still come back. We're still kind of making that decision. He just isn't sure if he wants to do it. Charlie's not sure if he wants to do it or not. But I think it's leaning more towards no. So we'll find out. But that's why this was a solo episode. It's mutual. No, no bridges broken. No animosity between us two. It's just going in different ways in life, and that's just what happens. But for the foreseeable future, I'd imagine this will probably be a solo podcast. I mean, who knows? He might be on the next episode next week or week after, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I would say probably solo for now, at least. I might try to see if I can get someone else on, because I like, that's the whole idea with this premise, this podcast, sitting down, talking about some good football, hanging out, talking about football. That's I do that all the time. Thought might as well make it into a podcast, Why not? And, if everyone's probably clicked off now, because I'm just I seem to be doing the thing where I'm just rambling. But, rambling's good, So, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up so I don't lose all my engagement. Hope y'all enjoyed this episode. Make sure to follow, subscribe, like, comment, etc., all the stuff that, social media influencers say. Do all that. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bam. I'm your uncle. Do all that, New episodes should be coming out next week or the week after. I'm not 100% sure about a date. It just depends on when I get time to edit and everything. Feedback, greatly appreciated. Please leave me any feedback you've got. Hope you enjoyed this episode, of course. That's the main goal, is, enjoy the episode. If you want to see more of my content on Twitter, you can follow me. My main account is ChiefsFan158717. And I also have a reporting from the Kingdom account. I can't 100% remember the @ of it, so let me just pull that up real quick. Just give me a second. Yep, at the Kingdom's Pod on Twitter is where you can see the business account, or the podcast account, where I'll try to post on it more. I haven't really posted on it much, but go drop a follow there if you want. With that, signing off. Hope y'all enjoyed. See ya. See you in the next one, which will be soon. I promise you. Hold me to that. Kill me if it doesn't happen. On my life, and the next episode will come out soon. Oh, is that really a bet I want to make? Well, yeah, I don't have a choice anymore. Bye.